Hello, my soul friends. There is a habit that if you adopted would change your life for the better. If you're curious about that, we can use this psychic tarot reading to find out. My name is Emmarie, and all you need to do is pick one of these three piles using your intuition. To help you do that, we're going to look at each image up close, meditate on the image, and whichever one strikes your intuition, that is going to be your reading today. So, pile 1 is a heart. Pile 2 is a cassette tape. And pile 3 is an angel. Once you have your pile in mind, all you need to do is scroll to that part in the video or go into the description and comments of this video to click on the link to that part of the reading. So let's go ahead and get started and figure out what habit will change your life. Hello, pile 1, my heart pile. Welcome to your reading. Let's go ahead and get started by pulling one card from the Dark Mirror Oracle to figure out what's hurting you. That way we can get to the bottom of this. What is hurting my pile 1? What is hurting them and needs to create a habit change? This card popped out. We have Bride in a Cage. This is an indication that you are feeling trapped in a role that you thought you wanted, that everybody was encouraging you to pursue, but it is actually very limiting. And it's unfortunate, but you are in a situation that isn't that easy to get out of. But because this reading is about a habit, this is a sign that what you need to do is use your habits to free yourself. I also find it interesting that this pile just happens to be a heart. So this could have to do with relationships, but let's pull some more cards to get the details. Let's pull 3 cards from the Crow Tarot deck. Universe, what are the details here? What is hurting our pile 1? What is the source of this pain? So the first card is the Page of Wands reversed. You are definitely being limited, and you're being limited because you can't pursue your curiosities. And you're actually quite curious. The Tower reversed is a sign that your life isn't necessarily falling apart, and so you are getting a little bit complacent. You are afraid to shake the boat because it could lead to people getting upset. I do have a sense that this is related to relationships, so perhaps you actually do have quite a positive relationship, either to a romantic partner or to a friend or a family member, and you want things to get better, but you don't want to tear everything apart. The third card is the Queen of Wands. So this is a sign that there is someone in your life that perhaps you would like to emulate, who seems to have it all, who seems to be enjoying everything, but you aren't having that, and you're being influenced by their presence. This could be a person you know in real life, or it could be an influencer on social media who seems to be having the perfect life, and maybe they are, but it is causing you to want more than what you currently have. And I think this actually is a little bit of an explanation of what is going on. You don't know what you don't know, and you have been limited by your life to only have what is around you, and you might even like those things, but anytime you learn about something new, you realize that you actually want to do that. This is like when somebody watches a movie set in a foreign country and they realize that actually that would be a really interesting place to go to. I'm thinking of, in the English-speaking world, Japan or Korea, as people have encountered anime and K-dramas from those countries, they think, you know what, maybe it would be really interesting to visit those countries. And so you are seeing something in your life or in your social media that is making you realize you want something more. And even though this is a positive, it is driving your heart and desires, you don't feel as if it is something you have access to. So this is a curiosity, this is a desire that you feel can't actually be fulfilled. Let's pull 2 cards from the Queen of the Moon Oracle for some additional information about what's hurting you. Let's get a full view of this diagnosis. What does pile 1 need to know? Your first card here is the path. So there is not just something you want to do, but you really want to arrange your whole life around it or make it a very important part of your life. And something about that path isn't working with one of your relationships. Maybe they don't approve, maybe it would require putting you at a distance or putting them at a distance or any sort of things. For example, when I was graduating college, I thought, well, maybe I should go teach English in a foreign country, but my parents were very against that idea because going on the other side of the world would be very, very unusual. And so I ultimately didn't go, but I think that is a good example of maybe there's something in your life that you want, but family obligations or social obligations make it difficult. Or even if they can't really affect your life wouldn't be affected by being distant from them, their influence is causing you to doubt yourself. And then the next card is growth. You actually do recognize, though, that this desire isn't a fleeting desire. You may have been influenced for a shallow or passing reason, like on social media, but I do think that you recognize that objectively what you want is a good thing. And you know what? I agree with that assessment. I think looking at your cards, what is hurting you is realizing that there is potential that you are not meeting in your life. So let's see what sort of habit you need specifically to overcome this pain and have the life that you deserve. Let's pull 1 card from the Moonology Oracle deck. Universe, what is the habit that pile 1 needs? So your habit is full moon in Cancer. A personal issue reaches a resolution. What this tells me is that you need to be confrontational. You need to advocate for your desires. And so I think the first thing you need to do is actually be clear about what you want. If you have ever taken an English or literature class, or if you speak another native language, any sort of writing class, you were probably taught to have a thesis and then 3 supporting points when you are making an argument. And that's something I want you to do. I want you to have in 1 sentence why you want to do the thing that you want to do, that you just dream of doing. For I think a lot of people it is going to be travel, but it could be a whole bunch of things. And then I want you to write or research 3 supporting points that you could tell other people for a justification. While I didn't go teach English in another country, there was actually partly a health reason that prevented it. There are 3 good reasons to do this. 1 is that it is a great way to save money and pay down student loans. The second point is that you can get travel in at a very cheap and good point in your youth. And then a third option is that you can usually meet someone, maybe not a local, maybe another expat or another person from your country who is there, but there are a lot of good reasons to teach in another country. And so what I want you to do for whatever it is that you want to do, you need like an overall statement that you can say, this is what I want to do, and then 3 supporting arguments for why it's a good idea. And sometimes you can pick like personal feelings and all of that, but if you can find objectively true reasons why your decision is good, that is what you should go with. And then memorize that statement and those 3 supporting points. That way, when you bring it up to people, they will see that this is not just a personal choice, it is an objectively good choice for your life and for your future. So let's pull some tarot cards for other details about this habit. Universe, what else does pile 1 need to know about this habit? About advocating for themselves objectively. So we'll pull 4 cards. The first card is the Hanged Man reversed, which is about suspense, and that suspense feeling as if there's indecision in a bad way. So I think part of the problem why you can't advocate for yourself is that you aren't very clear about what you want. You have ideas and it really just brightens your soul and warms your heart, but you don't have an objective idea. So let's say you wanted to travel. That's a great idea, but it's not specific. Where do you want to travel? What countries do you want to visit? What do you want to do in those countries? How is it important to your life? Do you like taking pictures? Do you like eating food? And so what I want you to do is be very specific in that thesis statement about what you're going to do, not just like your supporting arguments, but what you're actually going to do. Not, I want to travel and then your 3 supporting points, but I want to travel and eat delicious foods. And then you list your 3 supporting points. And again, not everyone is going to be travel, but I do think for a lot of people here, that's going to be the most likely thing that is indicated by this spread. The next card is the 6 of Pentacles. You're going to have to spend a lot of money. Whatever it is that you want to do, it is going to cost money, and that has some effects. If you are single and you are independent financially, it's just your money. But if you are dependent on parents, or if you are married to someone, or you have responsibilities, then you really need to think about how to save up using your allowance or your part of the budget, and then working with the people in your life on what is a reasonable amount to spend. Let's pick a more longer term goal. It's something I often use when I do readings for people, but let's say a mother wants to become an actress, but she's a parent. Like, that's not a good idea, right? That's an unreasonable career. Wrong. She can be an actress, but what she would need to do is move to a city where there are a lot of opportunities, like Los Angeles, or in another country, usually the capital city. Get a decent job, perhaps waiting tables or a healthcare job with flexible hours, and then take the acting classes she needs, and then go to auditions, and then try to get whatever she can to pursue her dreams, but in the meantime, making sure that her child has a place to sleep, food to eat, and is comfortable. So you can still get what you want, even if it seems unreasonable. You just need to make sure that all of your basic needs are met, and anyone else who is influenced by your finances also has their needs met. Let's say you want to go travel, but what if you can't take a kid? You usually can take a kid, but you might have to limit the specific countries you're going to. But maybe you'll need to have shorter travel trips. And put your child into daycare or let them stay with a family member, all of those sort of things. Don't assume that what you want can't be done. You just need to figure out the way that respects your individual circumstances. And that'll also deal with a lot of objections that you'll encounter when you try to advocate for yourself, because you'll be able to tell these people, hey, I understand your concerns, but this is my plan. The next card is the Seven of Wands reversed. You aren't being attacked, right? You're not being attacked. You aren't going to be attacked. But you aren't going to feel like your argument is very good because you feel it is a personal choice. Even if there are some objectively good reasons to do what you want to do, you still feel as if it is a personal dream, a personal hobby, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. You are allowed to have fun in life. So one thing you could do is have that same energy for what other people want to do. Someone who is in a relationship and wants to travel or something, maybe they could ask their partner, hey, what's something you've always wanted to do? Because I want to support you in that like you're supporting me. So the question here isn't to lie to yourself that your personal desires are strictly and objectively 100% just a rational idea. It is an emotional desire, and that's fine, but support other people's emotional desires. And when you do that, they are way more likely to agree with you and support you. The fourth card here is justice, unfairness. So there could be something in your life that is unfair. Maybe the reason why you have all these desires, but you haven't pursued them and advocated for yourself in the past, is that you're used to being turned down, or you're used to other people spending money on whatever they want. And so what you really need to do is advocate for fairness. This goes back to emotionally supporting people, but then demanding that they emotionally support you. Sometimes the reason why this happens is because the people in your life are toxic, but other times maybe they're just emotionally immature, or they've become complacent in relationships, or they don't know how to respect you. So verbalizing what you need will usually cause them to think, you know what, I have kind of been a jerk to you. Maybe I should change the way that we are relating to each other. So advocate for fairness in your relationships. So now what I want to do is figure out how pursuing your inner desire and the habit, which is advocating for yourself objectively, and respecting your emotional desires, that's your habit. How, if you start pursuing that, will it change your life in general? And what are the long-term outcomes for that? So let's pull 3 cards from the Queen of the Moon Oracle to find out. Universe, what is the long-term effects of pile 1 advocating for their desires? I feel like I need to shuffle one more time. So the first of 3 cards is beauty. You are going to have a more beautiful life. And so what does that mean by beauty? Beauty is very intentional, and people tend to only pursue beauty when they are comfortable or when they feel safe. Otherwise, they're only in survival mode, they are only pursuing function, and I think right now, you are looking at your life purely from a functional perspective. But when you pursue your desires, when you advocate for yourself, you are going to have more beauty in your life. Maybe you're going to have a personal glow up where you are more physically beautiful. Maybe you have a more physically beautiful space, or maybe what you want to do is something that will cause you to encounter beauty. But beauty itself is very awe-inspiring. It can feel very divine. And so I do think that overall, pursuing this personal advocacy is going to make your life feel more complete, and not just a life solely dependent on doing everything you need to do. You're also doing the things you want to do. There is ornamentation. Beauty is ornamentation, and that only happens when ornamentation suggests there's some sort of leisure or ease in life. The next card is nourishment. You are going to be fulfilled. You are going to be nourished. And nourishment isn't just being satisfied in the moment, but this nourishment is also giving you fuel. You're going to be inspired to do other things. You're probably going to learn to advocate for yourself in other areas of life, or any other bad habits you have, you're going to fix those, or any difficult situations you're experiencing, you're going to fix that, because you're going to understand how to advocate for yourself, not just when you're experiencing abuse, but advocating for your dreams and your desires. You're going that one step forward in your life. The third card here is power. You are going to be way more powerful than you ever were before, which I just like seeing. But specifically, advocating for yourself is going to put you in a much better position. Earlier, I pulled that Seven of Wands card, and whenever I see the Seven of Wands reversed, that indicates someone is feeling disempowered or afraid to stand up for themselves. And you are going to stand up for yourself. You're going to be in a higher status. Another thing with beauty and ornamentation is that it often appears with nobility or people with power and prestige, because they have that ability to have that extra oomph. And I think that's part of what is going to happen. You're going to be powerful, and that power is going to give you privileges and extras that you couldn't have even dreamed of before, all because you advocated for your desires in the first place. So let's end with 2 tarot cards from the Crow Tarot for anything else that you need to know about how this is going to change your life. What do you need to know? What is important? And then earlier I accidentally picked up the Dark Mirror Oracle, and I'm going to draw 1 card from that and 1 card from the tarot deck, because it seems like that was important. It wasn't just a mistake, like it was the universe telling me I needed to pick 1 more card from the Dark Mirror. So let's pick that card. What do you need to know about how this is going to change your life? So, atonement. Atonement, you are atoning for your past, for things that you regretted doing. And so I do think that you are going to revisit your life, you're going to revisit your regrets, and you're going to start pursuing the things that you wish you could have pursued before. They have interviewed a lot of people at the end of their life, and they asked them what they regretted most, and it was usually things they chose not to do. And so whatever you chose not to do for whatever reason, you're going to go back and do some of those, and you're going to have way less regrets in your life. And then your last card today, we have the Nine of Wands reversed. This is about avoiding a painful battle. This is about really learning how to rely on yourself. So in the beginning of the reading, I noticed that you were very influenced by other people, probably on social media or maybe even movies, and it's fine to be influenced. I'm not saying that you can't be influenced, but I do think a lot of your desires and choices, and maybe even the way you live your life, is you mimicking other people to try to live in an acceptable way. But what you're going to do is you're going to start living intentionally as yourself, and you aren't going to live as an archetype, as a category of person, or even as like this character. You are going to be unapologetically yourself. There's going to be some contradictions and surprises, but when people look at you, they are going to say, hey, this person, they're so original, they're so unexpected, and they're so interesting. And that is you claiming your life, and you're going to, instead of just being influenced by others, you're actually going to influence others. And I really like seeing that. So specifically, the habit that is going to change your life is you have a desire deep down inside of you. For many people, it's going to be something like travel, but you haven't been advocating for yourself. And the habit you're going to learn is how to advocate not just for your needs, but your desires. And that is going to radically change your life. So pile 1, if you resonated with this reading, be sure to like and subscribe for more. You can also leave a little heart emoji in the comments to let me know. You can also book a private reading with me. Those are available. A link is in the description. But pile 1, I am wishing you many blessings, and I think you are going to rise and be very powerful. Hello, pile 2, my cassette pile. Welcome to your reading. Let's go ahead and get started by pulling one card from the Dark Mirror Oracle to figure out what is hurting you. That way we know the background for what habit to apply. So, universe, what does pile 2 need to know? What is hurting them? We're actually going to pull 2 cards. I'm feeling 2 cards. Universe, what is hurting pile 2? What is important for them to change? So the first card is the Artificial Heart. And the second card is the Forgetting Oneself. So it seems like you are putting on a persona that doesn't actually reflect your inner self. And you're doing that for some sort of reason. We haven't figured that out yet. But one thing I think of is among young people, they were really seeking to find an identity. And through the last few decades, people have moved on to a fashion or subculture identity, and they just try to fit inside of that, whether it's goth, emo. I don't know which ones are the new ones because I'm not really young, but they will find a subculture with a specific fashion style, and then they try to listen to all the music, to all the hobbies, look like that particular subculture, be friends with that particular subculture, and they categorize themselves. And you're doing something similar, maybe not with teenage subculture, but you are definitely living as a category and trying to fit yourself into that category. But you are a unique person. You aren't going to fit perfectly in any box. No one does, but especially you. And because of that, because you are trying to fit this mold and try to fit within an existing community rather than building specific relationships, you are losing the parts of yourself that are actually quite amazing. So let's pull some tarot cards for some additional information about why you're doing this. Universe, why is pile 2 having this artificial heart? What is the source of this pain? Let's find out so we can change it. So the first card is the Queen of Pentacles reversed. You are overwhelmed, you are having trouble manifesting, and because of that, you see this modeled example and you're trying to follow it, and it does probably work for some people, but you're probably just looking at it as a shallow way. One thing I'm thinking of is people who want to be entrepreneurs or really successful will sometimes adopt these 2 to 4 hour morning routines. They're very strict and they think every successful CEO has done that. But then if you actually look at the data, while it is more common for CEOs to have a really efficient morning routine, sometimes they will do something random. Like I think Mark Zuckerberg meditates for an hour or 2 a day, or he used to. Musk is just weird in general, but everybody does something slightly different. But you are just looking at the stereotype of something to try to fix your life, and it's not actually going to fit your life, your circumstances, and your needs. but you are doing it because stereotypically it does seem to help people. The next card is Death. You are trying to transform. You're trying to end something in your life. So there is something wonderful about you and you recognize that, but you also want to be a better version of yourself. And so you putting on this artificial heart kind of makes me think that you're trying to fake it to make it, but you're trying to transform into that category rather than upgrade your life to the next best version of yourself. And so you are going through a transformation. You're probably doing a lot of wonderful things to make that happen. You are just focusing too much on being a category of a person rather than you in a new evolution. And that is the heart of what's hurting you, because you're feeling that it's not actually a good fit, but you feel like you have to keep pushing it because you're trying to be the better version of yourself. The next card is the Nine of Swords reversed, releasing of anxiety. So I do think what you're doing is designed to improve your life and you are seeing improvements. So you're probably hearing me now and thinking, well, I'm doing a lot of self-development. I'm doing what I need to get better and things are getting better. But even though that is true, even though things are getting better, you are not optimizing your personal evolution. It'll be better in the future than your past, but you're still going to be upset when you get there. You are going to reach that state and still feel a little bit empty. And that's going to be because you're going to constantly think that you need to be closer to this perfect version of this category or a new category. And there's going to be this hopping of identities. And that's what we need to stop. Even if these identities give you something positive each time, when you achieve that one identity, when you have transformed into that one category, anytime you have something else negative in your life, you're going to think, oh, I need to completely change myself and adopt this new identity. So you'll go from being like an entrepreneur to a yogi, and it'll become completely your new identity, when really all you needed to do was just do yoga a little bit more. You didn't need to adopt everything in the yogi identity in order to help your anxiety. The next card is the World. So with the World card, there is a lot of supportive things in your environment. And I'm just loving your spread because there is just so much positivity going on here that I think when we establish the habit you need to improve your life, you're going to be more successful than average for people trying to improve their life. There's a lot of supportive things in your environment. Really, the only negative thing I'm seeing is that you're trying to adopt this category identity that's not a perfect fit. There are good fits about it, so I'm not saying you need to radically change who you are and who you want to become. You just need to change that category to reflect your nuanced interest. So let's actually figure out what the specific habit is that you need. Let's pull 2 cards from the Moonology Oracle deck for some insight into that habit or habits. Universe, what does pile 2 need to know? What is the specific habit they need? Hold your vision, fixed moon. Your hard work is paying off, new moon in Capricorn. So what I am sensing is that you have probably either created a vision board or you need to create a vision board. And what a vision board can do for you specifically is you're going to be able to summarize all the goals and identity transformations you are trying to achieve, but you're going to be able to reflect on that vision board and ask yourself if that vision is fully what you feel resonates with you. So maybe you create a vision board, and this is just an example. Someone wants to be an entrepreneur, and one of the things they put on their vision board is that they're going to wake up at 5 o'clock every day. And they have a whole bunch of other things on their vision board, but specifically that one thing that they think they need, when they look at their vision board, they start realizing it doesn't feel right, it doesn't resonate, and that's something I want you to do. You need to create a vision board, put all the things that you're hoping to manifest, and then over a few days, meditate on it, or even journal on it about how each of those things on that vision board actually makes you feel. Do you resonate with that specific thing, or do you actually want to remove it and put something else on it? Perhaps, for example, somebody sees that wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and they realize actually they don't like doing a whole bunch of things right when they wake up. They would rather just get started. So maybe they wake up at 7, they have everything set out the night before, and then they just get dressed, they grab a quick bite to eat, and then they go to work. And that's perfectly fine. So really think about what you envision your future self, and then ask yourself, do you actually resonate with that specific vision? And understand that a lot of what you want for yourself is right. Perhaps that category self that you are trying to be, a lot of that does resonate with you. And so a lot of that resonates with you and you just accept it, you like it, you want to put it on your vision board, but really be comfortable with the idea that you tend to latch onto a category or subculture and you think you have to have all of that, but no, it is okay to be a little bit individualistic, a little bit of a contrarian, and do things a little bit differently. That's perfectly fine. But let's pull some cards from the Queen of the Moon Oracle for any additional information here. Let's pull one card. Universe, what does pile 2 need to know about this habit of creating a vision board and making sure they resonate with each individual element? So the first card here is gratitude, last quarter moon. So one thing you might consider is actually looking at your past. You've probably done a lot of personal transformations in the past, a lot of explorations of identity, and there were probably some things that didn't fit and you dropped, or things that you dropped but there were elements that you really liked. And so another thing I want you to do now and in the future is anytime you plan to make a major change or have made a major change is to look at the past and ask yourself, what actually you were really glad that you pursued when you did that? For example, when I was younger, I was really into computers, and I'm not interested in web design or programming anymore, even though I took a whole bunch of classes in high school and in college on that. But one of the things I really appreciated about that time in my life is that I learned how to be precise, how to be thorough, how to be detailed oriented in a way I never was before. And I've taken that forward in my life to be more appreciative of systems and how to make systems. And so try to do that for yourself. You might also look at your vision board now and create a perspective or predictive gratitude list. You'll look at all the things that you want to manifest and ask yourself, what are you most likely to be grateful for from that particular thing? Let's say that you want to wake up early in the morning and you know it's not going to work out, but it's really, really important to you. And so you might say, you know what, I would be really grateful to wake up early in the morning because I'm going to get a lot done. And if that feels right, you know that's something you want to manifest. But if it's not something that you would be grateful for, if it's something you would resent, then you know that's definitely something in your vision board that needs to change. So you can use this gratitude exercise to learn to appreciate things in your past, but also look at your vision board and figure out what specific things are actually going to last that you're definitely going to appreciate. Because if you're not going to appreciate it, if it's not going to give you anything meaningful, even if it's hard, change that part of your vision board. So now let's pull some cards from the tarot deck. Let's pull 5 cards for any additional details you need to know. Universe, what else does pile 2 need to know about this habit? The Ace of Cups reversed. You're not going to be emotionally happy with it at first. There's going to be some friction there. The Three of Swords reversed indicates overcoming heartbreak. So even though it's not going to be something you enjoy at first, you're going to think, oh, why did Emmarie tell me to do this? I really just don't like this practice. You are going to figure out a version of it that works for you. For example, I often hear people recommend meditating, and I've never liked meditation. It's just so boring, and I hate guided meditations, and I can usually only do it for a few minutes. And I know from all the research it is good for you, and I've been really resistant to doing it often, but through trial and error, I figured out a way to meditate in a way that works for me. I put it on an eye mask, I put on earplugs, and I just do it in complete silence where I can't be bothered by anything in my environment, and that works for me. It's actually quite nice. And so when it comes to making this vision board, you are probably, after this reading, going to Google, how do I make a vision board? And try to follow all of those steps, or very closely all of those steps. And if there is a step that you don't like, it is okay to experiment. This goes back to trying not to fit into a specific identity or category, and breaking the rules once you learn the rules and doing it in your own way is exactly what you were meant to do. And so if something doesn't feel right, keep trying, but make some adjustments, and you're going to find that through your individuality and creativity, you're going to figure out how to do things in a way that you're able to sustain. The next card is the Page of Cups. You are going to be very surprised by this habit. Something wonderful is going to take place, and you're really going to like that. It's going to seem like the universe sent you a gift. The next card is the Page of Swords. So whenever you adopt that practice, you're going to feel like you're not an expert at it. You're going to feel like your vision boards aren't perfect. Sometimes when I fill out journal pages, I just write in black, like just a regular pen. I don't use stickers. I don't use anything fancy. Same thing if I use a paper planner. I'm just very minimalistic. I'm in and out, I'm done, and I'm perfectly fine with that because it serves a need. And you're probably going to find that something in your vision board isn't perfect. It is usable. It reflects your individual needs, but it's not perfect. And you're actually going to be perfectly fine with that. You are going to learn not to compare yourself to others, not to compare your vision boards to others, and it's just going to reflect what is your individual circumstances and needs. And it's going to be very productive for you. The next card is the Seven of Cups reversed, reducing choices. So one specific thing you may want to try on your vision board is to not have like 50 billion things on it. And this goes back to, I think, the paradox of choice, where people do better when they only have so many things to consider. When it comes to decorating, for example, you really only want 3, 5, or 7 things on the table. You can kind of see that here. I have 3 rocks and then 2 on the side as like additional things, 5 symmetry, and then 6, 7. And I did that because I know that helps reduce clutter in someone's mind and helps them focus. And it goes with options when you buy something. 1, 3, 5, 7 tends to be the better choice to sell something. When it comes to your vision board, reducing the number of things on your vision board may be good for you, at least in the beginning. Instead of having 50 billion things, think about what is most important for you. And then just put those things on your vision board. And then when you look at your vision board, you aren't confused by all that clutter or overwhelmed, and you just see the few things that matter most to you. And this is going to make it a lot easier to do that gratitude list or to meditate on the individual items, because you only have to do a few things. And again, judging by your spread, eventually you're probably going to break this suggestion and then do your own thing, and that's perfectly fine. But I do think, at least in the beginning, reduce the number of things that you put on your vision board. That way it is easier to deal with and understand. So the last thing we're going to do is figure out how doing all of this is going to change your life specifically. What is the outcome, the rewards, the difficulties that you need to be aware of? We're going to pull 3 cards from the Queen of the Moon Oracle. What is the outcome? Balance. You are going to be more balanced in life. The Void. There's going to be a lot of potential. You're going to get rid of a lot of things in your life. And in that emptiness, you're going to fill it with things that you prefer. And then the 3rd card is Surrender. You are going to accept things. So specifically the Surrender card is interesting because I think you are very resistant to being your individual self. You have probably been influenced, bullied, or pressured by other people to trying to fit into a specific mold, and maybe even sometimes you agree with that pressure, like objectively you agree with them, but you don't like being told what to do. And because of that, this surrender is specifically about surrendering to the universe, surrendering to your higher self, not to other people. And so you are surrendering to the possibility of yourself and your individual quirks and interests instead of surrendering to the outside world. Now, you're still going to have this balance where you meet your needs and interests, but you work in the exterior world. That's perfectly fine. But in the things that you get rid of, you are leaving open the possibility for what matters to you. So let's pull some tarot cards for anything else you need to know today. Let's pull 4 cards. How is a vision board going to help your life? The first card, Ace of Pentacles. You are going to start something new. It is going to be a singular focus, at least for now, and you are going to build something. This is the correction to the Queen of Pentacles reverse card, where it feels like your life isn't where you want it to be. And the Ace of Pentacles card is about starting over, accepting that you are going through this personal transformation, but in this starting over, you are learning to be your independent self and finding what really matters to you. You aren't going to be balancing a whole bunch of things that don't truly matter to you. You are going to focus on what does matter to you. And this balance is about integrating things into a focus in life that actually makes sense for you. Ooh, the 10 of Pentacles, my favorite card in tarot, and it is the most positive card I can pull for that reason. This is about having some sort of legacy, culmination of tangible things. I am an Earth sign, and this is a sign that you are going to be building something that truly matters to you. And so in the success of adopting the identity of yourself, you are going to manifest something. You are going to see a reflection in the world of yourself and what you wanted to achieve. So it's not just a personal experience. You are going to put out into the world your expression. Someone I think about here is Taylor Swift. She is very good at branding. She's very good at putting out music that reflects what people perceive to be her identity. We don't know if it's actually true, but it's what she is expressing. And because of that, when you hear a Taylor Swift song, you know it's her. She has like this whole Eras tour, and that's something to consider. She was very, very successful, and I think you're going to be very successful when you adopt that identity of yourself and start working towards it. You're going to see some grand manifestation in your life that is going to leave an impact. The next card is the Six of Pentacles reversed. So it is going to cost some money to pursue yourself. Now, I don't want to tell you to go spend a whole bunch of money on self-development courses or books or therapy or anything like that. Don't do that right away. Do it when you can afford it. But be aware that being yourself sometimes costs money. So go back to the fashion example. Somebody who wants to express themselves through fashion, they still have to either buy the supplies to make clothes, go to the thrift store, or even buy clothes new if they want to express themselves that way. So once you have your budget, be aware that you're going to have to buy things to reflect the inner you out in the world, or to do things that reflect your personal interest. And don't be afraid to do that, but I think part of the reason why you're afraid is that spending money always seems like a commitment. And so definitely creating that vision board, reflecting on those individual things, and then being very sure of the things on your vision board. When it comes to time to spend money on something, you are going to say, this fits my identity. I resonate with this purchasing choice, and I'm going to feel very satisfied by doing this. This would be like someone who wants to wake up early in the morning. That's something that they really value. And so they know they need a good alarm clock. And so they'll spend money on a good alarm clock. That's just an example, but you can see how tangible things you buy can help reflect your identity. It's a tool or a sign of an expression that you need to really consider and value. The last card today is the King of Wands reversed. I'm feeling like this is another person. There are going to be other people in your environment who are very comfortable expressing themselves, or they come across that way. Again, Taylor Swift is a good example. We feel as if the person she is presenting in the media is who she is, and a lot of people can feel really uneasy around her in the entertainment industry just because she is this major star. They feel like she is shining so brightly that other people can't be successful in that same industry just because she's taking up so much time and attention. For example, when she had her tour, she was able to sell tickets for thousands of dollars, and people would travel to different countries to be able to go. I guess it was cheaper for a lot of Americans to travel to Japan to go see her at a stadium there. But other celebrities who are trying to sell tickets for thousands of dollars as well are finding they can't fill up the stadiums. And so be very aware that when you see other people successful, and there are going to be people who are successful in your environment, they're probably going to be very successful in some areas. You're going to feel a little bit insecure, but don't try to think when you see them being successful that you have to adopt their specific methods or techniques, because that is the way they do things. It is okay to have a different approach to life. It is okay to do things differently. And it is also okay to have different levels of success, right? Don't compare yourself to other people, because the moment you do that, you are going to want to adopt that identity. And so focus on yourself, focus on what you are building, and be very confident of that manifestation of your individuality, even if it is different from other people in your field, other people in your life. Be grateful for what you wanted to achieve, because you are going to look at your achievements, and if you respect yourself, you are going to be more excited over what you achieved than trying to copy what other people do. You are not a copycat. You will never find satisfaction from being a copycat. You will find the greatest satisfaction from being yourself and manifesting the highest versions of yourself. And so, pile 2, I really liked your pile today. It's a really simple habit that you need to do, that vision board. If you liked this reading, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more. You can also book a private tarot reading with me to learn more about this or anything else in your life. The link is in the description. But otherwise, pile 2, I am wishing you so many blessings. I have been blessed by your reading today, and I can't wait to see you again. Hello, pile 3, my angel pile. Welcome to your reading. Let's go ahead and get started by pulling one card from the Dark Mirror Oracle to figure out what's hurting you in life and why you need a specific habit. Universe, what is hurting pile 3? What is hurting pile 3 that we need to change? All right, your card is Gilded Regret. There is something in your life that you have regretted doing, and it may even be a pattern of things, but this regret is something that you are going to need to address. So let's pull 5 cards from the Crow Tarot to get some more ideas about your regrets. Universe, why is pile 3 having a regret? What is this background? I'm going to pull 5 cards actually. So your first card is the 8 of Wands. This is about a lot of things happening at once. You probably had a busy life or a lot of events happening to you, and you had to make a choice. You had to make a choice quickly. And it turns out you regretted that choice. So a lot of people would have done what you did. It's not like you failed. It is just you were really overwhelmed. And so you thought you made the best choice at the time. The next card is the Chariot. You really committed to your choices. You are probably suffering from the sunk cost fallacy. This is where somebody has spent a lot of time, effort, or money on a path or something they're pursuing, and they don't want to give it up. We often see this with professionals or people who went to college or started a business because they have made a major personal sacrifice and they feel stopping or chasing something else is a waste of their time. The next card is the King of Cups. This could be a person. We have the Ace of Wands. It is a person. So the Ace of Wands reversed is about you not feeling like you have been inspired in life. Instead, you followed the advice or the influence of this King of Cups person. They may have had the best of intentions for you. They may have had really good advice, and it was really encouraging to you. So when you had a lot of choices, they helped you pick the path that you chose in life, and they had the best of intentions. And whether they liked you or not, looking back, you thought, well, the advice wasn't terrible. Sort of like when parents tell their kids to pick a specific career or educational path, and objectively, it is a good choice, but it didn't fit you. It was just trying to optimize your life, and it turns out you weren't happy with this path. This makes me think of people who live vicariously through their children, and the Gilded Regret with the crown suggests for most in this pile, it may have been a parent who pushed you to pursue a specific path, or anyone in a position of authority like a teacher, someone who influenced you either directly or indirectly, and they regretted the choices they made in life, and so they tried to influence you to make different choices, the choices they would have made themselves. And so part of this Gilded Regret is this inherited regret, where somebody regretted something in their life, and they tried to help you out, they tried to make sure that you had a better life, but they didn't take into consideration your individual interests, skills, and all of those other things, or even life itself. One thing I think about right now is all those children who were pushed to go into computer science and they became programmers, and then now because of AI, they are losing their jobs, even though they maybe even their interest or their parents pushed them to do it, and it seemed like the objectively right decision at the time, but now it is blowing up in their faces. And it feels like giving up by picking a different career path, even if that career path isn't there. And so understand that the way you fix this problem, although we haven't gotten to the specific habit yet, is you have to trust your own influence your own intuition. The fifth card is the Hermit. You have retreated within yourself to try to find the answer. And so I think you are aware of some regret in your life. I don't think this is something that you are completely new to where you're getting this reading and you're thinking, oh my goodness, you know what? I probably do have a regret. I think you were very aware of this and you have thought about in the past how to overcome this. You have thought, how do I pursue the life that I was meant to pursue for myself? And I think you did the right thing by retreating within yourself instead of asking other people what you should do. And so I am sensing that already you have been making all the moves you needed to make to start adopting the right habit. So let's actually see what that habit is. We are going to pull one card from the Moonology Oracle to figure out what habit you need specifically to really boost your success in life. Because I'm really feeling like this is life path related, or at least project related. It could be relationships, but I lean for almost everyone in this pile life path related. So the habit you need, full moon in Libra, a win-win outcome is forecast. So one of the reasons why you struggle to make a change is that you want to honor the people who have helped you in the past, your current relationships, and yourself to make something work. So imagine, for example, someone went into the field of medicine and they spent a lot of money to go to school, they have a lot of debts, now they have a mortgage, they're married, they have kids, and so they think giving up being a doctor is just not going to work. And they think they can't pursue their life. The only way that everybody is going to be happy is if they stay a doctor. That's wrong. Now, they probably can't quit being a doctor overnight and change everything about their life because they have bills to pay, they have people depending on them, but they can think about a way to gradually detach from their current identity and pursue what they want. Maybe, for example, they want to be a doctor. There is this famous actor in the United States, I think his name is Ken Jeong, and he just took on some acting roles bit by bit, and I think he still has a valid medical license, but he does way more acting than he used to, and he just gradually adopted his new identity. So one thing I want you to do is ask yourself, who are you now, and who do you want to be? And even if you don't have a very clear vision of that future self, having an idea of the difference will help you to meet halfway. For example, doctor to actor. Go to acting school or take acting lessons and then audition for parts. That is the step that Dr. Jung would have had to do to become an actor. And he didn't just quit overnight and then hope to land a big role. He took small steps to get there, and that's what you need to do. But let's pull two cards from the Queen of the Moon Oracle for some more insight in this win-win outcome. And the reason why it's a win-win outcome is because when you pursue the life you were meant to, everyone else is going to be happier because you're going to be happier. You're probably going to be more successful. It may not seem like that at first, but remember Ken Jeong, he was an actor, he was a doctor, he made a lot of money, and that now he's an actor. He makes more money than ever before. So the first card is faith. You need to have faith that you can achieve the future you want for yourself, even though it's just an idea now. The next card is the Thunder Moon, change. You're going to have to change major aspects of yourself. So who you are now, there are habits, routines, things that you're doing that make up that identity. But for you to be that new person you want to be, you're going to have to change some things about yourself. You might have to change things that you do on the weekend. For example, that actor, Dr. Jung, he probably couldn't play things like video games on the weekend because he had to take acting lessons and he had to audition for roles. A lot of his free time was probably spent investing in the future he wanted. And that's something to consider for yourself. You're going to have to make short-term sacrifices as you transition from your first self to your future self. And so be very comfortable with the idea that you're going to be quote unquote busy, because this second identity, who you're going to become, is almost like a part-time job. So the things that you do, they need to be things that you can commit to, that you find rewarding to do, even if you're not making money doing it right away, if it is something that requires making money. And gradually do more and more each week until eventually it becomes who you want to be. So let's pull some more tarot cards. Let's pull 4 cards. What else do we need to know about this habit for pile 3? What does pile 3 need to know, universe, about the habit that will change their life? So the first card is the 10 of Swords reversed. By imagining your future self and slowly working towards it, you are going to avoid ruin. You're going to pick up the pieces of your life and you're going to live better. Now, you may not think that the life you're living now is a catastrophe. It is probably managed chaos or managed disappointment. You probably have other things in your life that make you happy. But the thing that your life path, the thing that you're upset about it, whether it's a big change or a small change you need to make, not making that change, you will feel as if you wasted your life. So if you make that change, you are going to find that everything else in your life is better. It is going to be improved. You're going to feel like you saved yourself from that pursuit. The next card is the 9 of Pentacles, and this is about adopting hobbies and interests and slowly building a future. There is a little bit of isolation here. There's this preparation. So I think that you need to really consider what sort of hobbies you need to take on. When somebody makes a major change in their life, for example, an actor, a doctor to an actor, they're probably not going to spend as much time researching medicine. They're going to do the minimum amount they need to stay on top of their career, but they're probably going to focus more on watching movies, acting out those scenes, taking those classes, and it's going to cost a little bit of money, so be prepared to spend money on yourself for whatever it is that you need to do. And you may also need to detach yourself from your current community and find the community that represents your future self. The doctor who becomes an actor, they're probably going to spend less time with their doctor friends, their doctor co-workers, and spending more time with the people in their acting classes. And so part of adopting this new identity is also about adopting the new community that comes with it. But before you get there, you're probably going to spend a little bit more time alone. The people in your current life probably don't share all of the same interests as you or the interests of your future self. And so you do have to be comfortable in the meantime with being a little bit more lonely in the beginning. You can still hang out with your friends and family a little bit, but you need to get comfortable with the idea that a transformation of self usually leads to a transformation of your social network. The third card is the Hanged Man. This is about suspension. This is about making a personal sacrifice. When it comes to your future self, you are going to have to let go of something that you cherish now in order to get that future version of yourself. For example, that doctor who wants to become an actor, in the transition period, they may have to have a considerably less income. And that may require downsizing, that may require moving to a different area, but something about your life needs to change in a radical way, your environment, the things you're doing, and there's going to be a personal sacrifice. Now, if it's just your personal sacrifice, that is a lot easier. But let's say that someone wants to become an actor from a doctor and they're essentially asking their family members to have a lower standard of living. That's very hard for a lot of people making major career transitions like that to do. And so what a lot of people do is they keep doing their previous identity throughout the week and focus on doing their secondary identity on the weekend. And you need to figure out what your tolerance for risk is and your tolerance for change, because it may not be a 100% change overnight. It may take quite a long time. I don't know if Dr. Zhang still sees patients. I feel like he sees some patients, but when he was first making that transition, even when he was in community, I think he still worked like 20 hours a week, probably because he had more of a supporting role in the TV show. So be very aware of the fact that this transformation of self could take many years. You may not be ready to let go of your past self completely. You partly picked it because there was something about it that you liked or valued, even if it wasn't the perfect fit. And so letting go, it's going to take some time, and it's also possible you may never let go of it completely. And that's okay too. Dr. John probably still has an active teaching license, an active medical license. So it is okay to transform, but not abandon your past self completely. The fourth card here is the Four of Pentacles, stability, conservative change. I do want you to make slow progress on your transformation. Instead of saying, I'm going to change my entire life in the next 12 weeks, ask yourself, what is the longest amount of time that you would tolerate this transformation? Maybe it'll turn out that you make it a lot quicker, but if instead of asking yourself to make a major change overnight or as quick as possible, asking yourself how you can make the slowest possible change is excellent. To use something different than medicine, imagine somebody wants to be a writer and they think, what I need to do is read like 100 books this year and then finish a novel and then get it accepted by an agent by the end of the year. That may not be a reasonable transformation. Maybe this person doesn't actually have enough time in their day to read all of those books and to write a novel. So instead of doing that, they might focus more on process goals, like I'm going to read 2 hours each week and write at least 1,000 words. And that's it. And then just slowly each year making a bigger change from, instead of reading just 2 hours a week, they read an hour every day and they make a goal to write 5,000 words a week. So be okay with progressive and gradual change when it comes to your habits. And the specific habit you're working on is transformation of self. So it's not a like one discrete tiny habit that you're doing. It's probably a family of different habits you're adopting to become yourself, your future self. So what I would like to do now is figure out how this is all going to change your life. So let's pull 3 cards from the Queen of the Moon Oracle to see what are going to be the long-term effects, positive, negative, and the outcome. That way you have a full understanding of what this transformation will do to you and for you. We're going to pull 4 cards, actually. So the first card is the masculine. The masculine energy is this really assertive energy. It is about manipulating things in your environment. It is about being very habitual, routine-oriented, and also focusing on self-development. The second card is the blue moon, unexpected. Your transformation process is going to cause you to have a life different than even you envision for yourself. The third card is the power card. You are going to become more powerful. The fourth card is the action card. So what I am seeing from these 4 cards is that you have no idea how busy your life is going to be. This goes back to the Eight of Wands that I think that we pulled first, about being so overwhelmed with choices and then just picking something that you think is best at the time. I think you're going to find that your future self is going to have a lot going on. And it may have been, when you were younger, something that was unimaginable to weather as a personal life, but your future self, a lot is going to happen and you are going to be able to handle it. And you're going to be able to take action. You're going to be able to assert yourself. I was listening to this or watching this video from the psychologist Tracy Marks on YouTube here, and she said part of being assertive is learning how to say no to reasonable requests. It's not just saying no to things that are unreasonable, but saying no to people who want you to do something. You may care about this person, what they're asking isn't difficult, but it's not something you personally want to do. For example, a spouse asks you to wash the dishes after dinner. It's a completely reasonable request, but maybe you have plans and you want to do those plans. So you just say, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that today. You're just going to have to do it yourself. And instead of being agreeable to other people, instead of complying with what people expect you to do, you assert yourself, you assert your desires and your goals, and you pursue that life. And you're just going to find that through that assertiveness, you're going to have a better life, and you're going to be able to achieve things that you never thought was possible, and achieve things that the people in your life never thought was possible. This goes back to parents hoping their kids all become doctors and lawyers, and it's a great job and they see it as a good career where you make money, you have a good reputation, but sometimes there are creative kids who reject that possible future, and then they become famous in a different way. They become wealthy in a different way, in a way no one would have expected, and that's what's going to happen here. By asserting yourself, you are going to gain some sort of a power in your life that nobody expected, and it's going to be able to help you have a life that is easier to manage, even if a lot of things are going on at once. So I like seeing that for you. The last thing we're going to do today is pull 3 cards from the Crow Tarot for anything else you need to know about how this is going to change your life. Universe, how is this going to change our angel pile's life? What else do they need to know? The first card is the 5 of Pentacles. So there are going to have to be people that you let go of in your life. There's going to have to be traditions you let go of. You're still going to keep some of those things. You're not going to abandon everything in your life, but there is going to be a major change. It's going to be a little bit sad. You're going to feel as if not everybody supports you, but in time, they're going to recognize that you made the right decision, even though it seems like you turned your back on them at the time, but it's going to work out in the end. The next card is the Star reversed. You are being a bit willful here. So you have a destiny and you are rejecting some part of the perfect vision of your destiny. I'm willing to bet that if you looked up your astrology, your numerology, all of those divination things that have very specific explanations about what you would do, you would recognize that there's some part of it that just doesn't work for you. Like you look at it and you're like, I don't like that. And because you don't like that, you are doing something different. Now there's a part of you that thinks, oh, fate is going to look at you unfavorably, but you should only use your fate as a guide rather than a sentence. Part of what having free will means is telling the universe, I understand what you want from me, but I want something different and I'm going to pursue that. You may have been born into a specific family, a specific community, a specific culture where certain things were expected, and maybe your past life, your soul chose to do that, but then when you got here and you lived that life, you thought, you know what? I want to do something different. And that's what you're essentially telling the universe, that you're probably going to honor some parts of your destiny, but you're going to get a little creative with it, and that's perfectly fine. Ooh, the next card, your last card today, is the Magician. This makes me think that you have all the tools you need to succeed. You are going to make something, you're going to manifest something that didn't exist before, something that perhaps the universe or even your higher self, your past life, couldn't have imagined was possible. And I think the universe is going to look at what you do with your life and say, you did a good job. I'm glad that I let go and allowed you to pursue the path that you wanted for yourself. And so even though you're initially going to feel a little bit of friction from the universe, you may feel a little bit of concern from your spirit guides, so not just people in your physical life, but the spiritual beings who support you. They may feel concerned. Eventually, they're going to see the progress you make. They're going to see the empowerment that you feel and the free will that you're employing. And you're going to start suddenly feeling this shift eventually where the universe and your spirit guides, they are 100% behind your choices, and then you're going to feel more empowered. But I think, and this is probably something we should tell your spirit guides in the universe today, it may seem like on the surface you can't succeed because you probably have current obstacles or difficulties in your life, but you are going to do it. And when you believe in yourself, when you fully embody the person you want to become, even if it doesn't seem aligned with your destiny, eventually the universe is going to be behind you and you're going to feel spiritually supported. It's going to become your new destiny. So, pile 3, I really liked your reading today. I hope you resonated with it as well. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. You can also go into the comment or description of this video for a link for a private reading if you would like to know more about this topic or any other. Otherwise, pile 3, I loved reading for you today. It was a blessing to me, and I am wishing many blessings for you. I can't wait to see you again.